Welcome to the God Hour Podcast. Grand rise, divine rise, blessed be to the day. To the gods, to the goddesses, to the kings, to the queens, to the occultists, to the alchemists, to the titans, to the celestials, to the healers, to the shamans, to the shamanesses, to the... Just remember, today is the only day that matters. You are the only one that matters. Everything from this point is to help you experience or observe. Sometimes both at the same time. But in order to do that, we got to understand the art of surrender. Welcome to the God Hour Podcast, Season 4, Episode 2, The Art of Surrender. Submitting to the attributes of the becoming. So what do you want to become? Similar to when you... This is not like when you submit that job application and you do things based on expectancy. This is based on full acceptance. And allowing ourselves to surrender to the process and allow everything that needs to happen. And that's what we're going to be getting into this week. But before we get into that, you know we're going to get into the God thought. You know Papa Lucifer, Spirits told me to give you that reading. And then we're going to get into this week's session. So stay tuned. Sit back, turn the headphones up, let the music move you, let the message resonate, and understand that elevation requires separation from the norm. I love you, we love us. Let's get into this. Ashe. Welcome to the God Thought. Feel the flow. Moving in indulgence and not impulse. Moving in the indulgence and not the impulses. The Gnosis of Direct Honest with the ability of detachment allows one to connect and be aware in honor of the flow. The art of surrender. When we think about surrender, the first thought based on the human condition, we think that if we surrender, we have to admit weakness, which is very true. But in order to embrace the true power, we have to remove the human narrative. This is true surrender, submitting consciously to the becoming. Truth is, some of us grow in this unconscious flow away from our divine purpose. This is due to thinking or the agenda or motive and not the knowing, trust, and emotion. You see, man longs for the need to validate and facilitate. Status, control, dominance. Ignorance is, of course, arrogance. Well, a god or a goddess creates to learn and apply in Gnosis and Genius. True humility, wisdom, guidance, self-awareness. Surrendering through thought and not feeling is the ground for us to manipulate or facilitate possessiveness or possession. You gotta surrender to the flow of what you are to become. If it's in your life and want to become it, then it's a part of the obsolete being that no longer exists. You gotta put in that inner work. This week's reading is gonna give us a little bit more insight on that before we get into this week's session. Welcome to the God Hour. I love you. We love us. Ashe. Welcome, y'all right out there. Welcome to the weekly reading. It's only right to do the becoming spread that I came with me. So before we get this, let's get these cards shuffled up real quick and get these cards in there. First card in this spread is going to be the Knight of Swords. Second card is going to be the Knight of Wands. A lot of moving forward in this deck. Third, the Ace of Pentacles. That's that star player mentality. King of Pentacles is the aspect of relationships without wealth, relationships without energy. And the fifth card in this spread is the Ace of Wands. Let's get into this reading, y'all. When I'm looking at the Knight of Wands, the Knight of Swords, it's the best version of you at this time, in this space. Right now, you should be feeling ambitious. You should feel action-oriented, driven to succeed. If you have been feeling a sense of dead ends and stagnant energy, the Knight of Swords represents, in order to expand that ambitious nature, give yourself that renewal, that rebirth, even if it's deep down, you ain't really got to it yet. It's time for you to be more assertive in stepping out of that comfort zone. Remember, I'm always talking about that comfort zone is always, everything's being filtered through everything that you got comfortable with. So everything outside of your comfort zone is your chaos. You inside that comfort zone, you the core of the chaos. You become the chaos. Stuck in that loop of that obsolete being. As you see yourself repeating out of an unconscious comfort, you feel tired more. You're feeling more tired. You feeling like you just keep repeating the same cycle and you ain't getting no charge from it. That's because it's time to cut those cords. It's time to cut those cords and shift those gears. This is pulled up in the King of Wands. The Knight of Wands. The Knight of Wands shows us how to shift and embrace that energy. Inspired by the actions of the soul and passion. It's time to pursue those ideas that you've been harboring, waiting for others to catch up. Stop waiting for others. Just why I tell them, stop waiting for others. Stop putting your potential reflection on others. It's time to move forward. Here's the reality. The longer that you stay in that position, the more they will need you. The more they'll need you. And peep this. And the less you will seem to expand. Commit to the betterment of the becoming of you. When we see that Knight of Wands and you standing there in that fire, you standing in that space, it's time for you to move forward. It's time for you to be like, you know what? I can't sit here and wait for others to catch up to me. I can't wait for others to catch up to me. I can't wait for others to get it. I gotta keep moving forward. Leave the breadcrumbs. They're humble enough, they'll follow you. This goes into the aspect of the Ace of Pentacles. How you need to focus to take better care of yourself. Remember, today is the only day that matters. You're the only one that matters. Everything is a reflection for what you now are going to see through experience or you're able to observe. So it's time to start taking care of that self. The manifestations, the new financial opportunities, that prosperity, everything that you want is on the horizon. It's time for you to actually put the energy into that. If you've been putting in the work internally, this point, the new beginnings is going to be, they're going to be crazy. You're going to love it. The point will be in those new beginnings. It's time to surrender. concentrate on mapping out and taking those steps to realize your inner potential. If you haven't already, it's time for that state of solace. And this is a perfect time for that solace, the winter solstice, which is in a divine alignment with this phenomenal time. It's a phenomenal time to be alive. You've been had the powers, now it's time to actually do the inner work so you can unlock that power. Usually, you are worried about the other aces in other people's places. That means you worried about if other people got their stuff together, got their stuff going on, and then what it does to you is allowing them to play out their potential, play out your energy through the projected potential that you just put on them. Think about the position where you at. You sitting there, you're trying to get your business together, and you passing out your man, you passing out your man demo. Or you trying to get your shit together and you keep passing out your girl demo. Or you trying to get yourself together and you constantly in this constant state tugging back and forth. Somebody else wants to go to school, somebody else wants to start a business, somebody else want to hop on a podcast and hop on a business idea with you, but they never seem to be ready. The best investment for yourself is to invest in yourself. Become that example. This is going to lead us to you are that star player. Your true purpose is time to cultivate further in your potential. If they were going to do it, they would have done it already. That's how you got to look at it. Be honest with yourself. Just like if you look back at it with them, if you were going to do it, they will look at you the same exact way. It's time to be fucking honest. This goes into that King of Pentacles. The King of Pentacles is going to show us what we need to let go of that no longer serves us. It's time to look at those relationships that are around you. This is a very important one for the ones that are thinking about that relationship. I'm not just talking about the love interest. I'm talking about the job. I'm talking about the friendships. I'm talking about the family gatherings. I'm talking about anything that has you in this constant set with yourself of, I gotta do it because no one else is gonna do it. Of course no one else is gonna do it because you're doing it. Look at these relationships as an effect to your wealth, your energy. Are they coming up short, and why? That'd be the question next. Remember, ask why and why not. What is in your life right now? Are these things helping you expand or leaving you constricted in your comfort zone? Are they helping you expand and grow into that space of the unknown, so you can get into that potential, get into your purpose? Or are these things keeping you in this space, further shrinking you into your comfort zone and make your comfort zone seem bigger than it is? Remember, a shark, you put a shark in a goldfish bowl, it's not going to grow any larger than the bowl. It's time for you to bust out that bowl. Time to stop providing for others that are not providing equal or greater reciprocity towards your growth and your becoming. The truth is, as long as you are there, they'll never need to apply the lessons. That's the truth. This will help you translate your vision into your true progress. Here becomes the reality of it. Are the individuals around you, are they giving you anything based upon helping you grow? That means even if you're sitting there, let's say you're studying, if you go over to your homie house, your homeboy house, your homegirl house, your mother house, your friend house, or whatever, are they providing things? Are they even providing an environment to where you actually can do what you need to do to achieve what you're trying to get to? This is one of those biggest realities for it, because a lot of us get scared. Like, I don't want to leave them because Stop jeopardizing your wealth, your energy, for the sake of others to say what? Damn, you was there for me? We're done with that. You're always, as long as you're there for them, they're never going to learn that lesson. It's time to embrace into your true progress. And what's going to lead us into that aspect? This leads us to the last card in this becoming spread. I love this card, the Ace of Wands. I love seeing the Ace of Wands. The Ace of Wands represents the aspects of inspiration, creates separation, or promotes elevation. Every time I see the Ace of Wands, when I pull the Ace of Wands card, I know it's time for some more separation. I know it's time for me to step into my elevation. It means that power of that creation. It means the new beginnings to expand your potential. These are the only. Sorry, Spirit got me on that. These are the ways to embrace the more authentic self. It's time to follow your heart and your passion. Another signal in doing that inner work to remove the weight of what no longer serves you. It no longer serves the authentic self. To doing this inner work, removing that weight, let the dedication and the motivation you have given to others now flow inward and allow the sprouting into the fertile lands of the subconscious. Allow it to take root in your subconscious. I've been doing a lot of work with the aspects of working on my subconscious just in this last day of my fast. That's why I'm so live right now. The energy's up there. I'm looking at the ace pulling energy from it. The ace represents potential, and it will be up to you to work on that potential to gain the results that will expand your personal and spiritual growth. Trust this process. Work in the potential. Unlock your gifts and your purpose. I want you to be the fucking best. In order to become the best, you gotta move forward with that Knight of Sword energy. That means cutting those ties and moving forward. That Knight of Wands means planning yourself into your energy and moving forward. The Ace of Pentacles means representing the aspects of the inspiration through that star player. The King of Pentacles represents really checking yourself and how you're using your energy in all these spaces and doing all the things that you're doing. That's gonna lead to that Ace of Wands. Hold that shit high. This is your potential. This is your growth. This is what you need to be doing. This is your level. This is what you need to be. I want you to be the fucking best. I desire you to be the best. Allow the message to resonate with you. Allow it to move you. Allow it to invoke that next level. Allow it to invoke yourself into the ethers. If you're interested in a reading, stay tuned for the plug talk and get the information on that. Papa Lusa had to give you that reading. When I did this, when I pulled those cards, I felt that. That's how you know how powerful it is when you're in that sync. When we think about synchronicity, I want you to be the fucking best. I love you. I love us. Love us. After this break, let's get into this session. Welcome to the God Hour. Y'all alright out there? You feel like you got a voice? Feel like you got something to say? Feel like you have something that can move the masses or get everybody tuned in and you want a bigger audience? Whether it can be anything from something like the God Hour or anything from like sports, news, fashion week, whatever it may be. Let me put you on to something. The easiest way to do it is with the Anchor app. Biggest thing about it is free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. Anchor will even do all of the distribution for your podcast for you so it can be heard on many other platforms such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money. You also can make money from your podcast with a minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. It's everything you need to get your voice heard and get what you feel that's in your heart and then to your heart out to the masses. If you're interested, download the free Anchor app or go to Anchor FM to get started. Welcome to the God Hour podcast. So it's Papa Lucifer. And today, this week, we're going to get into the art of surrendering. Submitting to your becoming. Especially with everybody right now especially with everybody going through this December 21st aspect and everyone talking about getting superpowers. In reality, we've already had the powers. We've already had our abilities. We've already had these aspects. But we have a human narrative when it comes to the expectations, and underlining within the subconscious mind are the things that keep us from accessing our abilities or accessing our power. It is based on that expectation. Like, I remember seeing the memes and things about like aliens wanted to use telepathy, and they say people got too much, humans got too much stuff to hide, or they feel they can't get nothing out. So you take this thought process, think about the Trojan horse. When I think about this, I use the Trojan horse theory. Whenever you're going into a situation, you have, even if it's embedded in your subconscious, based on the work that you haven't done, you have expectations. You have an agenda. You have a motive. Because these are the things that are going to stop you from coming into your becoming. When we talk about motives and agendas, we're always given this thing of, I don't have any motives or agenda. You have a motive or an agenda. Your main thing that goes into your mind is, remember, every time you take information in, whatever has the attention of your thoughts is what is going to get that energy. So you can sit here every single day and you can meditate. You can be eating healthy. You can be eating better to cleanse yourself, doing a detox, doing a fast. But the reason that you can never complete your detox or your fast is because of the thoughts that are underlining with it. There's an agenda or a set thoughts that you have set that you are not allowing you to reset. One of the things that I give my clients to do within their first aspects, when I'm taking them through a detox or taking them through a fast, is 72 hours. If you cannot go 72 hours without smoking, drinking, or whatever it may be, you can't go 72 hours. There's a deeper problem. There's something deeper in the underline, and that's what we have to find. This is what's under the aspect of the Trojan horse. I hope you went to school and you studied. I don't know what they teach kids in school nowadays, but I remember when I was in school, they taught us about the Trojan horse. It was a big ass wooden horse, and inside it were soldiers, and it got through the gates. And then when they unlocked it, go watch the movie Troy. They unlocked it, and boom, they attacked everything in there. This false sense of surrender. Smallpox, blankets, all these history. You can go down all these history facts. But we're going into this space of understanding what in your life are you promoting what in your life is Trojan horses. And in the aspects of when we think about for ourselves, the Trojan horse is the projection of our potential into a space. So when you think about a job, main time when we think about a job, you go fill in, submit that application. They have a list of things that they need you to do. They have a list. It's a handbook for you to follow. But you're going in there with your own expectations. So you can't fully succeed the information because you have your own expectations. You still have your own way of doing shit. You still got your identity and personality. You got your own way of doing shit. Your own way that you going. I remember being in my job, and we would have cooks that were in their 40s and 50s, and I was like in my mid 20s. And when I was like, yo, that's not how we prepare that item. Like, yo, this way is faster, this way is better, this way is this way is that. And then I'll be like, all right, cool. They make an item, make the food. I take it out to the table. They didn't like it. I go back there and make it the exact way that we were supposed to, following the guidelines. Took it back out to the table, and the table loved it. I was like, you've been doing this for how many years? Man, I've been in and out of kitchen for about 15, 20 years. did you ever think that there's a reason why you've been doing it for 15, 20 years and you haven't excelled? Man, because they always try to play me. You know how they do us people. And I always got that same thing. You know how they always try to do us. They always try to hold us down, try to keep us back, trying to keep us to the space. And I'm sitting there looking at myself to like, what did you do to put on the monkey suit? And everybody would say when they would say I'm putting on a monkey suit, like you got on your suit and you got on the shirt and the tie, you got the card, you got keys. So they're always saying that you did something to get to that position. And for me, I never took offense to it because it was like, I submitted myself unconsciously back in these times. I submitted myself to the attributes of the ideal and became what it is that I wanted to be in that space. That was always what I did. In every job that I was ever in, I submitted myself to the attributes of the ideal space. Now I can actually say it and understand what it is and go deeper into it and expand. Before I was unconsciously doing it, so I didn't realize. Before I was unconsciously doing it, so I could never get the full benefits of that space. What I could learn, what I could be, what I could learn from this space, how I could, after I learned this space, how I can manipulate it to my own gains. But once I mastered this process, once I'm now in this space right now, years removed, I remember when I first came into my awareness, I remember being at my jobs and I was using alchemy, I was using my magic, I was using my shit as I was learning it. So I'd be in a space, I could say something, do something, make a move, make a gesture, and my shit would go down. That was the coolest part of learning within that space. Remember, everything down here is your training ground. If you say it's not going to work, then guess what? It's not going to work. That deeply rooted subconscious thought process is what's going to feed off of your whatever you're doing. This goes into this aspect of when you can't skip these steps, there's these levels to it. You can't come to level 70 prestige in this if you ain't done the internal work. This is when we talk about doing that internal work, doing that shadow work. Everything leads back to your shadow work. Everything. Every time you make a move, it's going to lead you back to the shadow work and the shit that you need to be doing. So if you have not been doing your work, then you sitting here waiting for this external human narrative of powers, it ain't going to happen. You've been had the power. You've been had the abilities. But you got to do that inner work to unlock what has the attention of those thoughts. You can't open up your clairvoyant abilities, your clairvoyance, your clairambience. You can't open up these senses if you haven't done the sequencing process of your DNA. You haven't understood the sequencing of your DNA. You can't keep applying that Trojan horse theory to your life. A lot of us like to apply this Trojan horse theory to our life. That means we'll go into a space, we'll go into a relationship, we'll go into friendships under this motive of being the title becomes that Trojan horse. But on the inside, internally, that's the shit that's going to wreak havoc based upon conflict in that space. And then we sitting there going back and forth with ourselves. We have this expectancy of this relationship because you only can go so far before you got to go deeper beyond the surface. This is when we start thinking about these aspects of use this thought process in your mind. Somebody that has control of their urges. That means they have worked on their urges. That means they've read The Way of the Superior Man. That means they read these books. That means they've taken in this deep reflective work to themselves. Coming into that situation with somebody, if they have no need and want, what can you offer them? If they have no need and want, what can you offer them? Think about it. I have no needs nor no wants. I have taken that deep inner work and I've worked and I've unified myself entirely. My masculine and my feminine energies are in one. I'm androgynous. I am in the God form, the Titan form, the Alchemist, the Occultist. I'm in these forms. I'm the shaman. So what can somebody offer me without first knowing the level to be able to stimulate my mind? This becomes the process in your mind. If it's not something that I do not want to wish to become, then it's not in my space. This is when you guarding your energy. A lot of us come into this space and we're not guarding our energy. We're not protecting our energy. So how can you expect to unlock your abilities if you're not protecting your energy? If you haven't went through aspects of a detox or a fast, if you're not doing the inner aspects of the work, if you're not doing the inner work, then you're not disciplining yourself. So if you're not disciplining yourself, how can you embark upon the power? Watch a show called The Witcher on Netflix, most recent aspect. Watch Star Wars when they talk about understanding the force of the power. I'm sticking to Witcher because that's the last one that I watched. And she was like, and the teacher was like, if I send you into a space and you haven't learned how to balance your energy and you go kill somebody, then that falls back on me because you have a lack of discipline. So when we think about us even using these powers of tapping into our abilities of ourselves just to expand, it takes a certain level of discipline. Centering yourself takes a certain level of discipline. It can't be there's no more of this ego-ridden or allowing your personality to keep you comfortable within a space. There's no more external blame. We came too far to understand, it's an illusion. But then we can't say on one end it's an illusion, but then these people over here trying to stop you. The only reason they can stop you is because somewhere deep rooted in your subconscious are the fundamentals of them to be able to stop you. The plans to stop you and the plans to make them so they can't stop you. Brother Panic says that shit all the time when he's talking about once you really look at them, you start seeing them as ants. You start seeing how insignificant they are. I remember listening to that lecture. I remember going to work the next day and I'm sitting here looking at my bosses, quote unquote. I had a boss named I'm gonna call him Opie. Then I had another boss. I'm gonna call her Al Borland, Tim the Two Man Taylor. What are them? And they were so. After I started really understanding my power of myself, it was then the disciplining aspect of learning how to submit myself to the attributes of the space. Learning how to play my Trojan horse. You see, there's no good or bad. It's how you apply it. Learning how to apply my own Trojan horse into the space. And I did a very good job with it. I could go into the space as the attributes of the ideal, get my work done, say the things that I need to say, speak in the ways that I needed to speak, and I got throughout my day. To anybody that was unaware, was not used to that level of light or in that being in the state of consciousness, they looked at me, they were like, damn, he get to walk off line all the time. Damn, how he get to always be in the office with the manager. Damn, how he always get to get off early. Damn. They were not looking at this. I was subjecting to the attributes of the space. They needed me to come in early. I was in there early. You come in early too many times, they only allow you so many hours, so of course they're going to let me go. That's the alchemy within the space. Instead of you sitting there complaining about shit, what is it triggering within you? This becomes that space when you start understanding that. What is it triggering within you? All of these things that are going on in your life, what is it triggering in you? Your girl don't want to do this. Your girl don't like cleaning up. What does that trigger within you? Why are you so upset that they don't want to clean up? Is it because you don't know how to clean up, or you never learned? Or are you going to use that external aspect based on this external gender? Man, it ain't my job to clean up. Who cleaned up for you when you were little? My mama. Oh, so you have an issue. So you're being triggered by the mom complex. Black men are scared to get married. Okay. Did you take the deep internal work into yourself? Can you go beyond the physical aspects or the physical attributes of the space into going into that space? Have you done the deep internal work in the healing process to be able to sit there in a position and be able to like, yeah, I am somebody. Look in the mirror the next time that you say it to yourself. For men and women, look in the mirror and everything that is about you, not the shit on the surface, but I'm talking about the deep internal traumas, all of the experiences, everything that's in the inside of your ass. Bust that pinata open and say that shit in the mirror. Would you be with you? It kind of humbles you. Everything that's happening based upon us in the space, we always look for, people will look for a traumatic experience to help them trigger something. The traumatic experience is supposed to trigger humility. It's supposed to force your ass to sit the fuck down. That's what it's supposed to be doing. So you get into these highly volatile situations and you're not used to something humbling your ass. You want to get louder. You want to argue. You want to make this. Why? You want to go protest and march about what? All you're showing to them is you need them. When you have that argument with that, when you having the arguments and having a protest, you're just showing that you need them for something. When you show that argument of, oh, you don't clean up or you don't do this or you do that, you're saying to yourself that you need them for something. Which means you have not learned the deeper aspects to yourself. Within the reading, I broke down the aspects of when you're in a space with an individual, they're not going to do anything outside of that mindset because you're there to provide it. And this comes to the aspect based upon your trauma. If you haven't dealt with your trauma, if you haven't done the aspects or did the inner work in your trauma, if you haven't done the process of healing for yourself, and you keep submitting this same application to that space, and you're trying to, remember, it's going to be based on your experience. What work have you really done? For most people with their resume, your resume only go to, well, I used to work and I'm good in bed, or I'm good with this. I can do this. So that should be enough to get me to the next position. That's not what this is. Submitting yourself to the becoming. In order to become the ultimate, in order to even become the husband, you first must become the wife. In order to become the wife, you must first become the husband. This is the aspect of the divine union. You must subject this is what you came down here for, to learn the other aspect. For the shorties out here right now, for the queens that are out here that are very, very niggerish, very, very much into their masculine energy based on the trauma of the wounded masculine of themselves. Every relationship that you get in with a man that is projecting the wounded masculine, but is more into they're showing you the aspects that you need to admit and work with. To the brothers down here that you're sitting here, you want this wife material. You're down here to learn the aspects that are wounded within you through them. But see, we get this confused when we use this Trojan horse theory. We use this Trojan horse ability. You come into that space the space and you're open. I've said this before. You come into the space and you're open. So you're saying, I'm open, I'm honest, I want to be this, I don't want to be that. So then you start speaking out a certain level, you submit a little bit of the obsolete being. And what I mean by the obsolete being are the things that you have learned how to materialize through the trauma. The small aspects that you learn to materialize through the trauma. Your mother not being there for you in your life, you learned how to become, now you're using that aspect as being, I'm going to be nothing like my mother. Or your father wasn't in your life. I'm going to be nothing like my father, and I want no man like my father. Or I don't want to be nothing like my father, and I want no woman like my mother. But until you understand why your mother was the way, until you can accept the reason why your mother the way she was, and the reason why your pops the way he was, you can't even start the healing process into yourself to see how those aspects are a part of you. This is the forgiveness process of truly surrendering. Surrender to the flow so the things can actually come out. I remember being at a point in time where it got so bad with me, like I literally became my mother. And what I mean by becoming my mother was the way that my mother was to get the things that she was getting and receive the things that she needed. She played this passive aggressiveness. The way that my pops would get the things that he was trying to get, he would be the aggressive passive. That means he would yell to the top of his lungs. And then, like, when everybody was broken and everybody was fucking scared, then he would become the passive one and try to be around everybody and try to be everybody's friend. I remember being in those situations where I would yell to the top of my lungs and try to be everybody else's friend. I remember being in a situation where I would be really, really passive and be really, really passive. And then when I went and get my way, I would get real aggressive. I wasn't respecting their boundaries because I didn't have any boundaries set for myself. Remember, everything's a reflection of you to learn either through experience or through observation or both. So when we think about this Trojan horse program that we try to run, think about how many times you ran into a space and you knew your insides was broken. And then you're expecting them. So now that you came in an unexpected manner, subconsciously, you're waiting. Your ego's waiting so it can revert you back to what the fuck you came from. Your ego will revert. Your ego wants you to stay comfortable. Your identity, those personalities want you to stay comfortable. So how many times you went into a situation and you read it the wrong way, but you thought that you knew? Think about what I just said. You thought that you knew. See, when you move based upon the thought, based on logic and reason, and you have not done the necessary work to create anything new for that new logic and reason to sustain, guess what you'll end up doing? You'll say things like, I know, because you're going based off of the thought. So now you're using whatever you need to use to validate it. And if there's nothing in the external state to validate it, you'll go back into those memories. And you'll remember when Keyshawn broke your heart in fucking high school, or every man that you ever been with cheated on you. Or you're going to go into your memory bank the moment that shit don't look right, and you remember every single shorty that ever fucking did you wrong with money, but you never look at the reason they did you wrong with money. You never knew the reason that they did you wrong based upon the aspect of cheating on you. This Friday, we're going to be getting into the aspects of every relationship until you unify yourself as a polygamous relationship anyway. I took that from the aspect when I thought about the Bobby Hemmett lecture, and he was like, why are you mad if your man cheat? It gets deeper. You got to go deeper into the aspect. Like, every relationship that you're in right now at this point in time is a polygamous relationship. Because every relationship that you have, friendship, family relationship, whatever it may be, job relationship, they got a different personality of you. See, I'm unified. No ego. There's no ego when I say that, and I love that there's no ego to say that. I'm divinely unified. So any space that I go in, my energy speaks for me and it can expand within that space. My energy shifts the space. My energy doesn't conform to a space. That's the true limitless potential. That's your power. That's your ability. That's your Stretch Armstrong. When I'm at the gym, I'm the Human Torch. When I'm hitting the weights, I'm Thing. When I'm moving through an environment that I don't need to be seen in, I need to get in, get out, I'm Mrs. Invisible. These are your powers. But you have to submit yourself to the inner work to unlock these aspects of the thought process. To become invisible means to be true. I said this a long time ago when I was little. I was like, I can be in the same position or in the same space with individuals that I used to rock with a long time ago, and they can't see me anymore. That's the quantum. That's you in a quantum. I'm in the quantum level. I can be sitting in a position, sitting in a space, and I can even speak to the individuals, and they cannot see me past a certain point. They're stuck on physical aspects. Damn, nigga, you got a beard? Damn, nigga, you got locks now? Damn, niggas, them gauges? You got piercing? You got nose piercings? They can't get past that point. That's your invisibility. See, when you're moving in this space for yourself, you learn how to discipline your behaviors. This is the disciplining aspect. When you're subjecting yourself to the attributes of the ideal of your becoming, you're subjecting yourself to the traits that you wish to become. I've subjected myself to the traits that I want to become. This is when you go into the aspects of the gods that you deal with, the gods that we deal with. When you're interfacing with the gods, I'm every attribute of Buddha. I'm every attribute of Ganesh. I'm every attribute of Lucifer, going back into the feminine aspect of the energy. I'm every aspect of this energy. I'm every aspect of Baron Samni. I'm all of these aspects. They have a higher and a lower aspect to them. So when you're studying these aspects, this is when you start doing that study work, and you're going past the aspect of, some people can't get further enough into the book because they see the word prayer. See, that's religion. I'm not doing it. When I see prayer, I automatically think affirmation. Prayer doesn't exist in my mind. I think about affirmation, intention, manifesting. I think about these aspects. So when I now read these books and it says something about prayer, I'll be like, oh, reinforcing my affirmation, at applying my works. This is that process when you get into that work of submitting yourself to your true work. Until then, you will never become grounded. You cannot become centered. For a lot of us, we're not in the aspect of becoming centered, becoming balanced. So you can't even do the first aspects of surrendering because you got this thought process of, if I surrender, I got to admit I'm weak. That's what you're supposed to do. Admit your weaknesses and your flaws. Admit the weaknesses and the flaws of yourself. That way you can bring them to the surface and you can work on them. Because once you bring them to the surface, now when the trigger hits it, you know where to go to the corresponding flaw. This is the inner work. We're going to get deeper into this in this, breaking this down. Welcome to the God Hour podcast. Y'all all right out there? And welcome back. So we just got a little bit into the Trojan horse theory. I want to go a little deeper into that before we get, I want to go deeper into that. What conflicts are inside of you? What soldiers of misfortune are you leading into basically the slaughter? Take this. Imagine if the Trojans lost. Like when they put the Trojan horse in there, imagine if they lost. This is the aspect of yourself. Putting too much into a space with them loaded expectations or a loaded acceptance. And when I say loaded acceptance, this is going against the odds of you expect something, but you haven't done the work to receive it. So when it comes into this aspect of you submitting to your becoming, this is real work. And this is one of the main things that a lot of people fear in this aspect of doing this work or going deeper into the aspects of work, because you're worrying about maintaining the external status quos. What is my job going to think about me? What are they going to think? What are my friends and family going to think about me? What does it matter what they're going to think? They're not going to love me if I go in there talking about I don't believe in Jesus. They're not going to, my job going to look at me weird if I do this, that, or the third. Let me tell you something about my job. The more that I learned about myself, the more that I excelled at my job. The more that I was getting in tune with myself and learning myself, the better I got at my job, because I was more decisive. I was more efficient. I was more disciplined. I was more disciplined. I was more efficient. I was more decisive. I stood out more. And yeah. So what are you worried about the aspects of your job? When it comes to your job, like, there's nothing really, it's only when you allow your identity or your ego to stop you from doing what you need to do at your job. Really. I got to a level when I started cultivating my purpose, and that's when my separation started. But through my jobs, I learned a lot of shit. I learned how to manage money. I learned how to manage my time. I learned how to do promo. I learned about promotions. I learned taste. I learned sales pitches. I learned a lot of shit at my jobs. So that excuse goes out the window. What about my family? I learned why I chose this mother. I learned why I chose my father. I learned why I chose my pops. I learned why I chose my siblings, my cousins, my nieces, my uncles, my aunts, to become the parent to myself. So that excuse goes out the window. So what about my friends, or what about my girl, or what about my guy? Like, they're not on this. They're not ready to. They think I'm crazy because I'm saging the house every day, or they think I'm losing my mind because I'm standing outside staring into the sun. They think it's crazy that I just went on another fast. They think it's crazy. Let them think what they need to think. Evolution, your elevation requires separation. So the things that are in your space that are not on, cannot nurture the frequency or nurture your growth, they're not needed to be there. I was watching an interview the other day, and it was like, so what I'll do about my job? Man, fuck your job. The dude said, man, fuck your job. In reality, it was funny when he said, he said, fuck your job. And I was like, damn. But when he said it, I was looking at him like, oh shit. When he said it, I was like, yo, what's stopping you from leaving your job? What's stopping you from leaving that relationship? You were already the black sheep of your family. So what's stopping you from giving them exactly what the fuck they need? Give them exactly what the fuck they think that they want. Give them what they need. Give them what they think they want. So you can now achieve what you deserve. Do you trust the process of you doing your work? You sitting there burning 87 candles a week. Burning 87 candles a week and dropping money all over all your shit. But your rent is still late at the end of every month. Your bills is still piling up. It's because you ain't trusting the process. You're not fully submitting. You feeling depressed in the situation that you in. That's your ancestors and the spirits pushing you to do your inner work. You ain't getting hits at the casino like you was doing in the top of the year. Them scratch-offs and them lottery tickets, they ain't working like the way they used to work. Now you feeling depressed because you feeling depressed in your space. So now you depressed in your space. So now you ain't wanting to clean up or do the stuff you need to do in your space. You ain't taking care of yourself. You keep putting your spiritual works on the sideline. You keep putting your spiritual works on the sideline. And now you're feeling more and more depressed. You're feeling more and more lost. You're feeling more and more overwhelmed. Guess what? That's the spirits and the ancestors pushing you to do your inner work. Don't fight that shit. I can give you from fucking example that I was pushing away from my shit. I remember when I was supposed to be doing my work and I wasn't doing my work. When I had to stay with my mother, shit got horrible. When I wasn't doing my work and I was staying with my cousins, staying with other people, staying in other places, shit got horrible in that position. When I wasn't making the moves that I was supposed to be making, shit got horrible. I remember when I wasn't doing my full potential of what I was doing what I was doing in my house. When I was supposed to be doing the work, doing my inner shadow work, my job got horrible. I went from making 50 to 60 hours a week to making 25 to 10 hours a week because I wasn't doing my work. When you think about this COVID-19 shit, your ass forced to sit in the fucking house, it's because you're not doing your work. Everything is a reflection. That either everything's going to be that reflection, and if you look at it too long, that's when you get distracted. Because you got to turn it around to make it make sense in your own mind. Maybe I'm not the best this. Maybe I'm not that. Maybe that ain't you. You keep trying to go get that job. You keep trying to go get that promotion at your job and you ain't getting it. That ain't meant for you. This is when we start thinking about, based on the thought of the feeling that we're doing something or advancing in our external, we move further and further away from our divine purpose. When you moving away from what you're supposed to be doing, that's when the shit start falling apart. You know why? Because the projection only can sustain so much light. It only can move at a certain frequency. This is when I tell people, when I tell my clients, really start looking at the people that are around you. What do they represent? Look at those friends that are around you, those family members that are around you. What do they represent? Do they represent the aspects of not dealing with the trauma? Do they represent the aspects of failed potential by not really putting in work, not accepting things, not being real with themselves? What do they represent? This is you submitting to the attributes of the ideal to understand what you need to become. I had associates. They can't even get into the brotherhood aspect. I had associates, and I was always around individuals that I remember one time sitting at my job. This was like way, way back. And I remember standing next to my GM, and he'd be like, all right, Charlie, you can get out of here. Carlos, if you haven't realized, Charlie is one of them names. He'd be like, Charlie, you can go ahead and get out of here. And I remember we had this one expo. He was looking at me like, yo, how you get to leave early, man? And he was like, well, if Charlie want to stay, you can go. I asked my man, I was like, yo, what you got to do? Man, I got a party to go to. And then my GM Chani was like, yo, you always partying, but then you complain when you ain't got no hours and no money. Man, I got a life outside of it. And I was like, nigga, you got an existence. I was like, you got 5 kids. You got 5 kids, 3 baby mothers. You hopping from house to house. Nigga, you got an existence. He was like, oh, you jealous of my life. I was like, bruh, I got a job. I got my crib is straight. I'm not worried about anything. I'm pretty much good. I got a good life at this moment in time that I can expand within. That's the difference between having a life and having an existence. See, when you living in this aspect, this state of existing, guess what you do? You can't expand within existence. You only can expand to the barriers of the comfort zone. See, when you living in existence, you only can move within the barriers of the comfort zone. That means you cannot extend any more further past the box or the hamster wheel that you in without some shit happening somewhere else that you cannot control. See, when you're stuck in existence, you have this false illusion of control. So think about what you're trying to control in your life in that aspect. Think about the wiring of your shit. Think about how your life is wired. Not realizing that all that shit's wired together. So if one thing don't work, the other things don't work. This is that inner work. Getting into your inner self, that inner work. I remember having conversations with my brother at a point in time. And we have long, deep conversations on things. And I'm breaking down things to him. And I remember when he actually started listening. And it was weird because I remember every day I would give him the information. And then my false aspect of potential, I was still putting the glamour potential on him. So I was wondering why he wasn't doing what he needed to do. But I remember when the spirit literally started separating us, we started working separate, different shifts. The shifts that we did work, it was like he was going and I was coming because I was advancing. And the spirit was naturally separating us so I could elevate and so he could see the road to elevation. This becomes that space when you're going into this space with family members and friends, and you need that separation in order for you to truly elevate. So you can actually start executing the programs. You can't do it in a full space. So when you sitting there in that space, I'm in my comfort zone, and you keep doing the same things with all the new stuff that you're getting, you're only going to take in as much as you can apply or as much as you can take into that space. This is when I speak to my clients on certain aspects and things to themselves. I had a client the other day ask me, so what is this about shadow work and doing this, and this to that space? Or what about this, and this? And I was like, you're in a good space. You're in the right ballpark, but you got to go deeper. And they were like, but and my client asked me, like, I keep having a dream, and the dream is really, really vivid. And I'm going back into my childhood room, and I can't escape. And then I keep hearing footsteps coming up I keep hearing these footsteps coming up the hallway, and I keep getting scared. And then I wake up frantically screaming. I took him into the space. I was like, explain the space to me. What are you wearing? Got a little deeper. And then it unlocked the repressed memory. of her father coming into the room when he was drunk. The stomping that he heard was like him stomping up the stairs. He would let her know that she was coming upstairs because unconsciously he was feeding from that aspect of her fear. So he could feel a sense of superiority. That's the inner work. When you submit yourself to the attributes of this ideal space, one of the things that we fear is actually being in that space and allowing that stuff to be unlocked. It's yeah. So ask yourself this question again. What does your mother truly represent in that space? What does your father, lack thereof, or whatever father figure was in your life, what did they represent? What did your sister, what is your brother, what is your uncle, what do these people represent in your life? They all have a representation. That's why they are there. When you get outside of the emotional aspect, start peeling back the layers of the emotional aspect, you'll see exactly why they're there. This is the humility process. This is the learning aspect. You can't call yourself a god. You can't call yourself a goddess. You can. But those aspects of being a god, to be a god is to understand that you are the creator. You are creating through the gnosis to learn and further apply, or to go into the aspects of your genius to expand into your intelligence. So now you're a god of your space. Are you a god, or are you simply man? And when we say man, I'm talking about man or woman. Are you constantly in a need for validation? Are you constantly trying to facilitate these ideals and facilitate those Trojan horses and ideals in other people's minds so that they have an attachment to you, a need for you because you have a need for them? These become the aspects of the thought process that you really start thinking about when you start submitting yourself. The true aspect of submitting. You lit the Trojan horses in there. It's time to let yourself free into the space. See, this is how you start using the Trojan horse program on the inner work. This is how you start using the Trojan horse program on the inner work. Really getting into yourself and really getting into these aspects and really taking that aspect of a psychoanalysis. Don't listen to motherfuckers. And this is one thing that I do want to stop people from, like, I do want to put in there is like, if you need that external help, find a trusted healer. I am a trusted healer in the aspect that this is my purpose. All of the content that I put out is geared towards you getting that aspect of work. I have conversations on a daily basis with individuals that need that aspect of that work. And we set that consultation up and we start breaking through. Sometimes just through the consultation, we crack something open. Just through the consultation, we crack something open. And if you need further, I'm here for that. If you listen and it resonates with you, allow that information to help you move. But it's going to take you being totally honest with yourself. I've said this before, that honesty. That you need to do that work. That's the only way you're going to be able to unlock these abilities. Or else you're going to be stuck in that comfort zone, that space. Oh, I'll get to it later. Think about when you start saying that over and over and over again, the thought form that you feel. I'm going to get to this later. I'm going to get to my work. I'm going to get to myself later. You don't get to yourself later, and then all of a sudden your house isn't as clean as it needs to be. I'm going to get to it later. Now your ride ain't as clean as it need to be. I'm going to get to it later. Now your health is not optimum as it used to be, because you're feeding that thought form, and the correspondence is anything within your physical space that it can feed from. gonna say it one more time. Remember, everything is a reflection of you. So after you remove the excuses, what do you have left? Like me sitting in my space right now, I know that me working with energy, working with high levels of my aspects of my energy, I know my space got to stay pristine, clean. It got to stay in good. It got to stay in order. Not even from the aspect of when I'm doing readings or I'm having a session, like the thought process of if I'm doing my meditation and elevations in the rising, when I do meditate and elevate via Facebook and Instagram, just me looking across the space. And even though I can't even see inside my sink, I know something's inside my sink. My mind can now be taking elsewhere. I'm falling off my center. Just simply by me looking across from me and looking at the couch and seeing that there's clutter on my couch, my mind can go elsewhere. I allow myself an undisciplined thought to form. This is you disciplining yourself. So now that I'm undisciplined in that thought, I can't build my day. I build every single one of my days. I'm thankful for everything that comes into my day. I'm thankful for every aspect of my day. In real shit, I'm thankful for every aspect of my day throughout my day. When I roll out of bed at 5 o'clock, we're going to be right back after this. And we're back. I had to go to a quick message. I had to go to a quick sponsor because I had a phone call I had to take care of. Transferring. Let me tell you about, I'm not even going to we ain't even going to use that energy. We in a good space. We in the becoming. But what I was talking about is the aspects of you submitting yourself to the attributes of the ideal. And when you look at these spaces that you're trying to become to your higher self, look at the documentation of the stuff that's around you. Like on the wall right beside me, I got the Buddha tapestry. I got the Ganesh tapestry. I got my Papa Lucifer tapestry behind me. They're all immaculately beautiful. They're all in order. Even to you looking at it, you be like, oh my God, is this so? To somebody that's undisciplined, it would seem chaotic, but it's actually a beautiful masterpiece. This is your godliness next to cleanliness aspect mentality to yourself. So when you're coming into this submission, this is the aspect when we talk about doing that inner work and cleaning yourself up. You're going to start doing that in a reflection of what you're doing to the inside. See, when we try to externalize based on the outside aspect, we try to keep things neat and tidy on the outside. So we refrain from going internal. You see how you skipping steps in the process? Everything has a stage where you got to go through the rough. You got to go through that into the darkness and formulate it into the way that you see it to be. But as I was saying earlier, it's like disciplining your thoughts is a lot deeper than what a lot of people like to look at. Then we don't think about the external aspects, because the external will never match. The internal should never be dependent upon the external. This is how you become weaker. When I'm looking at myself, where I'm at and how I move, and just how I've grown over the last year, there's a certain quality to me that I only accept for me. I do not depend on external aspects outside of me. This is a part of that unification process. I do not accept outside or external aspects of me to be in any other way, shape, or form to shape my thought. Because as a God, I create to learn through. So if inside of a space, me being thankful automatically in that space, me being thankful inside my space, thankful inside my realm, thankful inside my thankful, gracious in my space, naturally everything that I do naturally reflects that. The things that do not reflect this aspect for me, I now can step away from. This goes deeper when you think about the aspects of friends, family, that job. You know, you're going to be moving. You're going to be moving in a space and in a mindset that is deeper than what you thought. You're really putting in true work when you're doing this. You're working with your energy. Remember, your energy clings to whatever, that energy, that thought form, it clings to whatever can have its attention to it. So something as simple as me sitting here in this space right now, everything that I do before I even get to this point of recording a podcast, it is a method and it's a ritual. There is a ritual to my effects of me doing the work that I'm doing right now. When I rise up, my first thing that I do is still complete darkness. Sometimes I don't even open my eyes. Sometimes I open my eyes. I've gotten good at not having to open my eyes because I know what button to press to turn off my alarm. And I roll out of bed, get in my favorite meditation stance, whichever one I'm feeling for the day, and I sit there for my 30 minutes, and I invoke the energy into the day, how I want my day to be. I'm looking back at whatever I played around when I was in the dream world. I'm looking in the astral realm, looking around in there, seeing what I'm playing with, seeing what stuck out and what I can implement into my day. I get up from there, go brush my teeth, go put on my gym clothes, and I head out the door. From there, even to what I'm listening to, you become so disciplined, but it's so fun for you. Like, I got different binaural beats that I listen to when I go to the gym. I like using Kundalini joints, even though I'm able to raise that by myself. I love using that as my background noise in my mind. So like when I'm sitting there when I'm looking at my phone screen, I'm looking at the flames rise up. So in the physical representation of flame of my no self from my land of the no self, I'm projecting into my environment what I want to do. I'm deifying myself into the environment. And then I go from there. Then I leave from there. I might hit up the local store here. I got a Sprouts here. Might hit up Sprouts. Might hit up Food Lion. Now, especially now, since I'm back off my fast, but I'm go grab my proteins or whatever. Grab my protein, step out the door, head back to the crib, make sure my stuff's shaken up, start my tea, and I start my day. I have intimate power over my day. But I'm open, since there's no control, I have intimate power over my day. Everything, and I'm already thankful. Remember, I started my day off being thankful. I started my day being off gracious. I started my day being off open to receive. That's how I started my day. I started my day from the spiritual aspect, the spirit realm. Therefore, I started my aspect from the receiving aspect, the nurturing aspect. I nurtured my day. So now when I step into any point of my day, anything that comes in my day is a point to learn. I give you a nice little example. Today, for about 3 weeks with PayPal, I've been trying to get my money out of that account and transfer it into but I had to put a new bank account on. It wouldn't allow me because of some limitations. The phone call that I took was the phone call to get that situated. Now I'm just waiting for my phone to update itself, and then I'll start that process. Waiting for my phone to update itself, and then I'm in there. At a point in time, I was triggered, but I was more self-aware. Instead of me becoming upset, I allow myself to feel the anger, and I use that anger to, while I was sitting here recording this episode, recorded the last session, that's why I had to get off so quick. and I had my Bluetooth headset in my one ear. I had my phone sitting over here, and I'm sitting there listening to I was on hold. I was on hold for an hour. But since I was not focused on that, I was focused on my works. The quantum aspect kicked in, and the hour went by in 20 minutes. This is how you start becoming more efficient, quantifying your steps. This is what all your discipline is doing. From meditation, now, instead of me having to do an hour long or 2 hours or 3 hours, not unless I really am feeling doing an hour long meditation. Now, when I do my meditation, it takes me about 15 to 20 minutes to get to where I need to get to because I'm centered. But it's a process of me going through my meditations, going through the aspects of the meditation, understanding and clearing out my space in my mind, silencing the tongues of my ego and silencing the tongues of everything else and listening to my inner child. When I really started getting into my inner child, that led me to my inner child work. What don't you like about Dorothy? What you don't like about him? What you don't like about her? And I could start doing my inner child work. From my inner child work, then I can really start. This is when I really can start working with my ancestors because I was bringing them the innocence of my inner child. This is the humility. I can now work with my ancestors, my spirit guides, until I became interfaced with my ancestors, because my ancestors, my grandmother, my uncles, family members that have passed and transitioned, they needed the transition. So this is another aspect. This is another layer of understanding, because a lot of us don't understand that our ancestors, like, we have so many deaths in our lives. It's because they need to go transition on, because they are all aspects in a higher aspect. So when they transition on, the attributes that they are, when you start studying and doing this work, the spirit will lead you to a book on the Orishas. The spirit will lead you to a book on the mother goddesses. The spirit will lead you to this is how you start letting the spirit lead you as you cultivating with your inner child, because you're becoming humble and more innocent. You see the process of submitting and surrendering. You see how this starts working, everything starts falling into place. As I'm doing that with my inner child, doing that inner child work, I'm pulling in the ancestors. My grandmother, Basset Oshun energy. My aunt was Lakshmi energy. She had the chinky eyes. She was the Lakshmi energy. So when I started working with my mother, when I started working with my aunt, that's when my money started flowing in. You see how you start trusting that process? My money started flowing in. When I started working with my uncle, my second sight and my clairvoyant ability started kicking in, because he was the aspects of Baron Somni, Papa Legba. You see how you start interfacing? This is how you start interfacing with your energy. This is how I became my uncle. Just like in this space down here below, I became my mother, because my mother became from my grandmother. My grandmother was the Oshun, the Oya, this archetype of that Yoruba aspect, the Hoodoo, the Mama Brichi. So on that side, since I became my grandmother in that interface to that energy, married to that energy, on this space, it was the working with that energy, because in the spirit realm, they're outside of the realm of time. So it's like it works faster. But I was humble to the process. So when it came time to me align my mirror down here, I became my mother. I became my father. I became my brother. I became my sister. I became my aunts. I became my uncles. I became the lineage of my family. This is when the aspect, it takes one person in the family. When Bobby was talking about, it's like 1 to 2 people in the family. It takes one person in the family to heal the lineage. This is healing the lineage, because you're becoming the lineage. You're not, I don't have to speak to my ancestors, because I am my ancestors. Ancestors that now the fun part is, Now the ancestor that I known, you feel me, that the known ancestor that I work with and interface with, now it's the fun part of understanding the aspects of the ancestor that I didn't know. This is when you get deeper into the aspects of your lineages. Because a lot of us think that, oh, we're all from Africa. My uncle, my father's father was from Cairo, Egypt. But the Leanies went all the way up into the Yakuza and everybody in Japan. So I can study that. That's aspects of me. So I can work with all of these energies in the Eastern aspect. Other ones were down in Brazil. Some were right here Indian in the Indian aspect. This is when you start mapping your shit out. This is when you start trusting that process. And the deeper that you go in, when you're humbling yourself, that's when you're rewarded. A lot of people are not getting rewarded because they're not humbling themselves. You're not going through, when you have that roll of depression, stop thinking about the depression as, oh my God, something's wrong with me. No, the depression is your ancestors telling your ass to sit down and do that inner work. That anxiety is your ancestors telling you to sit the fuck down and do that inner work. You can't breathe at night while you sleep. That's your ancestors telling you to wake up and start doing your work. I got a message for you. This is, nigga, I need you to get up and do this work. I've had plenty of these times. I've had plenty of these moments. And as I went through that inner working process, submitted myself to the becoming, I became more and more and more unified to myself. That's your key. You can't skip these steps. Once you open up that door, you got to walk through it. Once you walk into that room, you got to learn that darkness. Once you learn that darkness, now you can bring the new light and start creating in that space. This is an illusion. Now they talking about the quantum world is talking about death is an illusion. We've been knew that. Death is nothing but another door to transition on to go to the next space. Go through that door. Next time your grandmother talk about in the Bible, Jesus had to go to hell to raise up Lazarus. Ask her who Lazarus was. Guess she can't tell you. Lazarus is you. Lazarus or lizard. Lazarus or lizard. Or the Kundalini energy or the serpent energy. Jesus had to go down to the root, back into hell, to raise the Kundalini energy. That came from right here. That was straight download right here. This is when I humble myself to my process. That's my reward. See, when we think about the rewards, we think about the physical aspect. Like, just as quick in my mind ain't even thinking about the bank account because I know that's already solid. Bank account is good. I ain't got to worry about that no more. See, disciplined thought. When you start disciplining yourself, that's when it comes through to you. This is when your powers start to come online. And then you can start cultivating within that space. But you got to do this work. I just want to see you be fucking great. You got to do this work. There's no skipping. Stop waiting for the potential of others to catch on. Because all you're going to keep seeing is upsets. Right now, there's a lot of y'all seeing upsets right now with friends and family. Every time you go around them, it's another fucking problem. Every time you go step over there into their house, it's another fucking issue. Every time you go try to save them, it's another fucking issue. Guess why? Because the spirit telling your ass to stay fucking over there. You mad at your mother, you still mad at your ancestors, your spirits is telling you to stay the fuck from over there. Keep disobeying them. Keep disobeying your higher self. Gonna go crazy. Real shit. Ooh, this felt good. This was a good one. Real organic vibe. I want y'all to be the fucking best. In order for you to become the best, you really got to tap in to tune out. You got to tap in to tune the fuck out all that other shit. You got to tap in to tune out all the other shit. You got to tap within to tune out all that other shit. Allow it to fall away. It's not meant for you. It had a purpose. Once you define its purpose, leave it where it is. Allow it to flourish there. This is when I thought about, that's what I wanted to get into, the casting system. You don't have to worry about, once you start removing the emotional aspects, you start understanding why in certain spaces you weren't supposed to do certain things. Like for me, for instance, it was never written in none of my charts that I had to read for myself to bear continuance. It wasn't meant for me to bear continuance. I already did all the aspects. One of my nieces was my daughter in a past life. My little sister was a daughter in my past life. I met my brothers. My brothers were like sons in my past. Like, I was wondering why in my life, like when anybody came around me, I was always the big brother, or I was always like almost a father figure. I always wondered that. Why anybody was coming into my circle, coming into my life, they were like my daughter or my sister or a little sister, because that's the rank that I hold. That's what I am. Like, I've always been the oldest. I've always been the eldest. I've always been that chief aspect. And then it further goes into alignment with my chief sign is Aquarius. My sun sign is Aquarius. And we go into this conjunction into Aquarius. I've always felt it. I've always said it. You've always said and felt certain things. You always felt and understood certain things. You just didn't know why you were saying it. You were never crazy. Actually, you was crazy. But then I was time to embrace that shit. This is you submitting to the attributes of your becoming. Using that new Trojan, now that you understand the Trojan horse protocol, and what it represents in your life, now you can actually start seeing that if someone's coming into your life based on these certain intentions with an agenda, you can see through the agenda. Because in natural aspect, when someone's coming to you with an agenda, they only can uphold something for so long. And they only going to uphold their shit as long as you're upholding your shit. That's how you keeping that balance in that space. So when you're looking inside your spaces, when you're looking at your friends, family members, your man, your baby father, your baby mother, your girl, look at what Trojan horse you carded in there. And you'll notice, because I noticed this for myself, when I started evolving in any of my relationships, when I started evolving, the Trojan horse that was carded in on their end, I could see right through it. Yeah, I was going through those emotional moments to learn, like, to see past it, to use it as a balance, use it as the level beam to see through it, to be able to see over the horizon, to see what I really needed to see. But once I learned it, that was great. That's your process. Stay tuned for the plug talk, and then we're going to get into this week's closeout. Thank you for choosing the God Hour. I love you. You love us. Ashe. Welcome to the plug talk. I like that. I like that. There we go. Woo! Welcome to the plug talk. You know, this is the keeping everybody in tune with what we doing in the word of the Godical Alchemist. You know, GodicalAlchemistLLC.com. If that reading resonated with you and you would like to schedule or schedule or basically book a reading, something to that nature, you hit me up, Alkhemist.LLC.com, or you can hit me at Facebook. Hit me in the inbox at Facebook, Rock_Nijis, or on Instagram at Papa_Lucy666. Just want you to be fucking great. This is very powerful to surrender to the power of your energy when you rising into it. What else? Y'all know tonight, if you're listening to this on Today being the only day Tuesday, tonight, Facebook Live, Rock_Nijis, we do the God Hour show at 7 p.m. Live readings, we break down deeper into a little bit of a topic, and then we build from there. It's a party, especially celebrating. We have a lot to celebrate about. Tapping into ourselves, that inner work, that's always something to celebrate. Give yourself something to celebrate, and the aspects of it's helping you grow and not constrict. Get lost. What else? Oh yeah. I was thinking about polygamy. And I know me just saying that word, people are like, oh my God, I didn't know he's gonna be one of them ones talking about polygamy. But listen. What I thought about polygamy in the terms of, we take it to that deeper aspect, taking it up higher. And when I was looking at it, and I thought about polygamy, every relationship that you in, before that divine, before you integrate with yourself, is technically based on our polygamous intent. Sacred energy exchange is the bonding or the marriage or connecting of the imbalances to create what is supposed to be a temporary anchoring, and that should be used for that learning and expansion, but it's now used as aspects of escape, construction, and constriction. When one unifies to the soul integration, all needs and wants are met through the healing process. At that point, the very old bonds are now brought before the integrated self. This is the hard pill for some people to swallow because of the biases, and we don't allow ourselves to think. So this Friday night, Gotta Go Alchemist, the YouTube channel, we getting into the aspects of no longer needing the physical structure to materialize, and the quantum thought and production. Think about it like if you've seen Demolition Man, looking at Demolition Man, this Friday we're gonna get into polygamy. And if you tuned into the sex lecture, the higher understanding, go look at that one. It's back there, all the lectures on YouTube. Go back and look at SEX, the higher understanding, so you can understand the process of when we getting into polygamy. Y'all understand the thought process. We got to get out of this neural network of fundamental bias in order to understand and take this information and use it for us to apply so we can go further ahead. Your mantras, that's where polygamy came from. But yeah. If you're interested in doing a build on a podcast, call on Nijis at gmail.com or papalucy666@gmail.com, or you get me in the inbox of Facebook and Instagram, and then we can build from there. I just want you to be the fucking best. In order to be the best, you gotta start that work. That's what I'm here for. I want to see you be great. Stay tuned for the closeout. I love you. We love us. Y'all right out there? Ashe. I just want you to be great. I want you to be the best. I want you to embrace every aspect of what you need to embrace to take yourself to the next level. It's going to require you to surrender to the flow. Surrender to the flow, and I guarantee you're going to learn the aspects of the cave. You're going to learn what you need to learn in order to step forward. But you got to trust the process. You got to integrate with the process. I've seen a lot of individuals, they're still out there and they're in this limbo space because of the amount of work and not trusting the process and feeling that sometimes, like it's going to be hard because there's something that they haven't let go of yet. And it's okay. That's an okay part. You're going to go through this process with yourself where you're going to be like, man, I don't know. And man, I ain't feeling it. Man, I don't want to do that part because that part lead to this. And then I ain't going to be able to get what I need to get to because I'm going to be leaving something behind. You ain't leaving nothing behind. Remember, this is an illusion. This illusion is what you make it and what you take from it. If you are taking the negative, then you'll get more negative. If you're taking all the positive, then if you're taking all the negative, then you'll never be able to embrace the positive. And if you're taking all the positive, you'll never be able to handle all the negative. It's all about the aspect of balance. When shit's going on down here, when you're going through a depressive state, when you in a space where you ain't really having friends and families falling off, it's supposed to happen. If you losing a lot of loved ones and they got you in that depressed state, the spirit is telling you to sit down and do the inner work. Stop playing with this shit. Amongst other things, you have to fully surrender to this, or you only gonna keep losing. You gotta fully surrender to this, submit to the attributes of your becoming, or you gonna keep losing. You gonna keep getting them half-off wins. You gonna keep getting that half-off energy. You gonna keep getting conflict in your life. You're gonna keep meeting with conflict. You ain't listening to yourself. You gonna keep going into positions and going into places that no longer serve a purpose for you, and you gonna wonder why you ain't getting nothing from it. Because it's time for you to evolve. It's time for you to elevate. It's time for you to truly change. You called for change. You said you weren't no punk. You said you weren't scared. You said you was ready. Prove it. You ain't gotta prove it to me. You ain't gotta prove it to us. You gotta prove it to yourself. You get ready. You never have to be ready because you always ready. It's been another episode of the God Hour podcast. If you're listening tonight, tune in tonight. Facebook Live. Rock All It Needs is the Facebook page. Tune into the God Hour show. Stay tuned for the stuff throughout the week. I love you. We love us. Ashe.